Let's hear today. Julie and Milo show is coming your way on Passive.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the Julie and Milo show. Today is March 30th, 2021. My name is Julie. I am coming to you from Orange County, California. My dear friends, Milo. Milo, could you please say hello?
Hey, how you guys doing? It's Milo from Nashville, Tennessee.
Thank you, Milo. You and I have so much fun on the Julie and Milo show. It's because of On Passive. It's created for us, it's created for the humanity, it's created to uplift the condition of the humanity. And I'm so glad to be here with you, Milo, every single day. You and I have always said we blessed to be here to connect with people from all over the world. Today we do have a special guest, and it took a while for us to get her on our show, but she's here and I'm excited to hear her story. Milo, could you please introduce our guest?
I can, Julie. We are excited to have this founder on our show today. Man, we've heard her voice and she is the voice. I mean, she has an incredible voice and you're going to see what I mean. I'm going to bring to the stage right now, Robin Noble. Come on out, Robin. Welcome, Robin. Man, it's so good to have you on the show today. We've been waiting a while for this one.
Hello, Robin. It's so good to have you here. I'm so happy to be here and chat with you.
Thank you both, Julie and Milo. I am thrilled to be here with both of you. Thank you so much for this.
Man, Robin, we love getting founders on the show. And me and Julie said we're the most blessed people in the world because we get to meet all the founders, and such is the case with you. But we like to get to know, a little bit more about you, Robin. And so we want to know, who is Robin? Where was she born? When did it all start? Her siblings, her mom and dad. So can you give us something on that?
Absolutely. I was born in New York City, Manhattan. I'm part of the 60 and 60 2020 club. So I will be turning 61 this year. I was fortunate to be born into a family that were basically a United Nations in their own right. My father was English and my mother is South African, and I have a sister. She's younger than I am and I absolutely adore her. I'm so proud of her and we are good friends as well as excellent sisters. We live in Toronto, Canada now, and it is because of my parents naming me Robin, and I've blamed them from the moment I started traveling, that they instilled in us the gift of travel and the joy of being able to go and experience other cultures and meet other people. So I started off as a little one traveling throughout the States with my parents, and then we moved up to Canada, to Montreal. We were educated in French there, and then we moved to Toronto. So from here, I then stepped off into the world and went into further travels.
Wow, wow. So Robin, I have a pleasure of reading your bio. There's so many things on there that I would like our founders to know about you. I know that you have been in a very successful career at the sea. I like for you to talk about it and go into that details on that 20 years at the sea, please.
Julie, that was one of my happiest times and opened my eyes and my heart in so many different ways. I've worked on 40 different cruise ships over the course of the 20 years, and I've worked with the Greek officers, the Italians, the Scandinavians, and it was just an amazing, amazing learning opportunity to live with over 200 nations in a floating island in that sense, because for crew members, it really was not a holiday resort. We were the staff and we worked 24 hours a day. It felt like 27, but we worked 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for as long as the contract was. And my position was international tour director on board. And my function really was to promote everything that would happen off the ship. So any port of call, any country we were in, I would do the sales, the port information talks, the shopping tour talks, restaurants, and history of the people and my experiences with the people. I was fortunate that on most of the ships, we also had lecturers. And I left all the historical components, the political side of things to them, because that's not where I dealt with these countries and with the people. I was truly with the people. I wanted to introduce our guests from the cruise ships to these amazing countries that they had. At the beginning, when I first started, people had to save a lot of money to go on the cruises. But then as I also moved up the cruise industry ship ranking and went on to the luxury ships, these people could afford it 10 times over. But I still wanted them all to experience the people. It was the wonderful people, their big hearts, their cultures, the food, the shopping, the beauty of what was there. And oh yes, by the way, the tours and the historical side were very important too. But my joy was seeing people connect and people coming back on board the ship saying, I went to their home for a cup of tea, or I met their children, or we did something special that was over and above what I had arranged for them. It was very, very special for me.
Wow. Wow. So I have seen here there was a attempted hijacking on your ship. Talk to us about that, please.
Yes. I was a four-stripe officer on most of the ships that I was on. So that was a senior member, like an executive team in that regard on board the ship. And so my duties and responsibilities were in charge. I was trained in fire prevention. I was a fireman on board, as well as safety and security, as well as crowd control and looking after a lifeboat in any emergencies. And we were actually on our way transitioning from one part of the world to the other. So we were in what was known as pirate territory. And we had a very, very good captain on board who was not prepared to give up the ghost, or was not prepared to be intimidated by the pirate ship that came alongside. We had very wealthy guests on board. It was on one of the luxury cruise ships, and it was a smaller ship, easily could have been overrun by pirates in terms of the number of boats that came out, the amount of guns and automatic weapons that they did have. But our captain was excellent, and with announcements being made on board the ship for people to stay in their suites, to stay off the outer decks, for the crew to take positions and be prepared, he then floored it. And like a Lamborghini or an amazingly well-tuned vehicle, we barely touched the water surface as we took off. And the element of surprise is, I think, what really caught these potential hijackers. They didn't think that the ship could move that fast, and they didn't think that the captain had I'm going to say basically had the guts to do something like that with all the firearms around them. And we did, and we outmaneuvered and we got away from them. It was kept quiet out of the news for a while, and then some of the people on board, of course, started sending messages back to their families. So I believe it did hit the news in the States at some point. But there were, later on and after I was off the ships, there were 2 other attempts of other ships, but we were very, very fortunate.
Wow, that's insane. I wanted to ask the next question. I don't know if Milo, do you want to ask the next questions, because
No,
it
go
sounds
ahead.
so intense.
Go ahead. Stay with that.
Okay, all right. So let's talk about you being the voice on the ship. How does that come about? And yes, please talk to us about that.
During the Gulf War, the ship that I was with was seconded to the US government, and we were under contract to the US government for the duration of that time for the R&R, rest and relaxation for the US troops. And we were docked in Bahrain for 11 months. And I still had the duties of a tour manager, because the US government wanted their soldiers to experience some wonderful things before they went back out to the front lines and be part of what was happening at that time. I was very fortunate, again, being a senior officer, I was outspoken, and we were all, as staff and crew members, as we were sailing to Bahrain to arrive on Christmas Eve to take on our first troops coming to visit to try and make it their best Christmas, we had been told that this potentially could be their last Christmas. And I unfortunately, or fortunately, spoke up because they expected us to be on duty 24 hours a day and to welcome them and see them off and wish them well, and in true fashion of some sort, to put a pretense over all of this that everything would be all right. And the one piece that I could not do in all faith and truth and with as much love was I could not stand at the gangway and wave them off saying, you know, pip pip cheerio, have a great life and that sort of thing, when in fact they were going as the ground, the foot soldiers into the front lines. And it was very dangerous for them to be doing this. But I was the voice that was on the speaker system when they arrived to join the ship. We stayed alongside, docked the whole time. But because of my ability and knowledge of working, I guess, the speaker system, and because of what I had done when we used to sail, making announcements, they asked me to continue doing that. And so the senior US official heard my voice and asked me to be the person responsible for all the announcements for their soldiers and for everybody who came on board. And so they got to know me that way. And it was a lot of fun because on board the ship, I had the PA system. But when I was in the parking lot, loading up the buses with the soldiers, I learned to use my lungs. And I didn't have a PA system. They gave me a blowhorn and I couldn't make it work. So I stood there and I used my voice, and my lung power was apparently quite strong. So from then on, many of the soldiers dubbed me as the voice of the Cunard Princess during Desert Storm. And the one aspect of this, which was very touching for me, was that my sister had taken a position with the same company, but she was working with the passengers traveling to other parts of the world. And so she was quite often at LaGuardia Airport with a sign with the name of the cruise line company. And many of the soldiers later on, months after I had been there, started to come through LaGuardia on their way home after their service. And they used to see the sign and they would go up to her and they would say, oh, you're part of the company that has the ship in Bahrain. And my sister said, yes. And they said, oh, we were on there. And so my sister said, well, maybe you met my sister. And she gave them my name. And she said, yes, the voice of the ship. Yes, we did meet her. So in a very scary international event that was going on, there was a connection to home and a connection to my family done and brought about through the soldiers that traveled back, having been with me on the ship and then meeting my sister in LaGuardia before they went home to their families. So on board the ship, I was also responsible for helping people through fear and through various situations. And I was their mothers, their sisters, their best friends, and that sort of thing. I was called, if there were suicide attempts, I was on suicide watch. And I also became an honorary MP on board the ship. So it was a very, very special time in my life. And I'm most grateful to have been part of it. I learned a lot. I really did. I learned a lot about people, and I learned about, again, a different industry, a different part of the world, a different part of life that I otherwise would not have been part of.
Wow.
Wow.
That's amazing. I want to go sailing with you. Can I go on a cruise with you?
Absolutely. I still have to put my name down on your cruise list. So absolutely.
Do that. We got a job for you. No, but hey, listen, it's wonderful hearing that. But let's move on. Let's move on to 2004. You was in a near fatal car accident. Please tell us about it.
Yes, I was on a ship in 2004. I was sent to another ship to learn basically the Eastern European ports that I would then be responsible for. I was being transferred out of my usual area of expertise, which was the Middle East and the Far East, due to a shakeup in the office and the settings of the tour managers. And I was on a ship that was going to the ports of call that I was then going to go to the following year with the luxury sister ship to the one that I was on. We were docked in St. Petersburg, Russia, and I was not the tour manager. I was actually an assistant on taking notes and learning about the different ports, and therefore participating in a lot of the activities and going on the tours with the guests. And the first day we had an overland and a flight up to Moscow, which was quite a disaster, but I was with 27 other guests. And you know, there's a feeling when you know you're being protected, you know that there are angels watching over you, you know that some other force, being, presence has taken care of you. And that's exactly what happened that first day. A lot of complications, a lot of challenges occurred. Eventually we returned to the ship at 5 o'clock the following morning, when we should have been back at the ship at 6 o'clock the night before. That second day, we then had tours in St. Petersburg, and the guests who had been on the full day up to Moscow decided to go on their regular tours. And I had a private car to go off and do as much as I could, again, in preparation for the following year's tour schedule, so that I would know what was being offered. Unbeknownst to me, and yet at some level, in hindsight, and after all the work I've done on myself, I knew something wasn't right. But I got into a car with a driver who wouldn't take his sunglasses off to greet us, who didn't quite behave in the normal way that I had experienced tour guides drivers to be working. But I got into the car with another crew member from the ship and the tour guide, and off we went. And the next thing, we were driving out in the country, and we were on a dual carriageway outside of St. Petersburg by about 90 minutes. And the next thing, I felt the car swerve. And I looked up and looked at the driver, and he said, "Oh, it's the wind. Big trucks were around us, and a big truck had just gone past us." I didn't feel comfortable, but there was nothing I could do. We were about half an hour away still from our first destination. And the next thing, we swerved again, and we went into oncoming traffic. We went into the ditch, hit the trees eventually. And from what I was then told, we stopped. The car engine was on fire. The driver got out and started to run. I had passed out. The guide and the other crew member were able to get out. And I just remember hearing my name being called and being told that I had to wake up. I didn't know that I obviously wasn't with it or awake. Woke up to the smell of smoke and fire, could not get out of the car, and eventually was able to maneuver a little bit. Fire trucks, fire sirens, ambulances all came eventually. It took like what seemed an eternity. And with a language barrier, I had to basically tell them what to do. They didn't know how to get me out of this ditch and out of this situation. Anyway, the long and the short of that is that I spent about 10 days in hospital in Russia, both in a private hospital and also in the public hospital. The really hard part about all of this is that I had no way of contacting my family. And eventually a doctor came in to the emergency section to look at me. He had just returned from Europe, had a cell phone with him, and said, "I've got a little bit of time on if you want to call home." I did. It was a Friday afternoon. It was July 31st, 2004. And I was able to reach my family, my mom and my sister. My father had died the year before. And they were heading out to a movie. And I just said, I need to speak to both of you right now. Hurry up. And I said, I love you both. There's been an accident and I love you dearly. And the line went dead. So it was a shock for them. It was a shock for me. The office in the States was closed. It was a holiday in Canada. The embassies were closed and nobody from the office contacted them until they finally were able to reach somebody with their calls the following week. Moving forward from all of this, I was flown home. Medical attention proved that I had broken facial bones. I almost lost my left eye. I lost 6 teeth in the countryside. I had 98% damage to my body, soft tissue and otherwise. Total broken bones in my left leg. My left ankle was shattered where I tried to use my foot as the brake to stop the car in the accident. Broken ribs, broken fingers, and mental problems that occurred. I lost the 8 languages that I spoke. I couldn't speak. I lost my memories. I lost my memory for a long time and had to work very, very hard to get it back. Because the accident didn't happen in Canada, I was not able and did not qualify for help here, even though I am a Canadian. The company refused any sort of treatment because they felt it was out of their jurisdiction. And the Russians sent the wrong medical information home and x-rays home with me. So there was no recourse for any of that as well. Moving forward now, about 10 years later, the doctors were excellent here in Toronto. The surgeries that I had, the medications I was on, but it was all too much and I became suicidal. I had to stop everything myself, but I went back and retrained. There were glimmers of hope. There were glimmers of memory that came back. And I went back and retrained all my holistic therapies that I had learned, as well as moving forward with that. I went back to school for 2 different degrees. One was office management. I graduated with honors. And the other one was actually travel management, international travel management. And with the teachers and the school's patience in both instances, I graduated with honors. A little bit longer than what the actual course was, but I did it. So I was very grateful to have been able to accomplish something, because my initial diagnosis, both from the doctors in Russia and in Canada, was that I would be lucky if I could sit on a park stool bench in a parking lot and collect the tickets. I was about as able as that after the accident. So I'm very grateful to be here, and it's been a long haul, but I'm here and I'm smiling again and I'm moving forward.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Could not imagine what you had gone through. And I'm thankful that you are here with us. And
Thank you.
I'm thankful that you are telling your story. It's inspired me so much.
Thanks,
And
Julie.
you've gone, I mean, it actually left me speechless listening to what you're saying, sharing your story. I'm so glad you're here. And On Passive is here. And I'm so thankful that On Passive is here, give us an opportunity to connect and give us the opportunity for you to share your story. So I'd like to go into On Passive. When did you join On Passive? How did you all started it? And what make you take the action to become an On Passive founder?
So I knew nothing about network marketing. I knew nothing about MLM industry and what that was all about when I was on the ships and doing everything else that I did in my life. I'd never heard of it. I had no idea what that was. After the accident, and I was at home, disabled, mentally, I have got the medical diagnosis of being mentally with mental challenges, visible and invisible disabilities, and the pain, chronic pain, and other conditions that go with all of that. It's very difficult for me to sit in a normal chair. It's very difficult for me to sit at a desk. It's very difficult for me to stand. And so from my bed, I used to dream that I would find something that I could do from there. I was never lazy. I was never wanting something done for me. I was always quite prepared to do the work, but I needed some help in finding what that would be. So I was introduced to a number of companies with different products. Some of them I'm still with because they actually helped me, and I look forward to being able to get back to them because of the financial needs that they require to. But I know that I will be back to how I was when I was taking them. And this went on for quite a few years. There were times when I was out doing vendors and tables, so I had improved. I had done a lot of work myself. But then the money started to get less and less, and being on disability here is not good. The amount is very, very small. By the grace of God, I'm with my mum and my sister, and they have helped me and looked after me and all my needs financially. So the disability check is there, and anybody who's on it knows what little it can do. I was introduced to a number of companies, and I kept saying no, or I would try them, I'd get in, I'd lose money. And we've all had that story. We've all heard how so many of us have been involved in different parts of this. And then somebody from another company that I had been with them said, you need to look at this. And this was on passive. And like many of us, it was, no, I don't want to do anything else. I've got no interest in anything else. I've lost a lot of money. I cannot afford to even consider something else. I need help that I can do something. I needed to create money that I could do legally, that I could do without jeopardizing my disability, the money that I had coming in. And 2 weeks later, he came back to me and he said, look, there's a public webinar. Will you please listen to it? So I said, yes. I don't know why I said yes. I don't know why I said yes. And I'm so pleased that I did, because January 9th, 2019, I joined on passive. And I heard Ash's voice. I heard his heart. I heard his mission, his vision, his hopes, what he was laying out to be able to help the world and to help people. And I knew that this was something that I could resonate with. And I was so excited at the feelings that had brought up in me that I had not felt since the accident. Basically, there was no passion in my life anymore. I was doing things to try and survive. But it ignited that little spark of passion again, and I couldn't let that go. However, having joined was one thing. Doing something with joining is a different thing. And I listened to the next webinar. I've probably heard every single webinar -3 since I joined. I put my mum in, I put my sister in. I didn't tell them because they had always supported me with other businesses, and I lost their money, I lost my money. I could not go and talk to them again. I was too terrified. I stayed on the calls. I told just a couple of people who joined me in that first month. And after that, I got scared, and all my own personal red flags went up. Is it? Will it? What if? We all know those as well. Each hurdle was thick as cement walls, 6 feet, you name it, it was there. But with every webinar that I heard and listened to, a brick was taken out. It was a little bit more real. It was a little bit more real. And now I really don't have any of those hurdles anymore. Ash has explained and shown us what is possible. He has never lied to us. He has never twisted what has been said. He has never made promises that he couldn't keep. And this is not an MLM company. This is a huge corporation. And with my background in the shipping industry, knowing what that takes to run, operate, start up, I'm able to be a little bit more patient maybe than some, but it still gets to me sometimes because I know how much good is going to happen when it does come to everybody and with the global launch. So I am so incredibly grateful to the opportunity, to Alan, who is my upline, direct upline, who introduced me to this, to the ladies who joined me and who trusted me one more time without having any understanding of what computer and all of this artificial intelligence and all of this was all about. I didn't either, but it was just, you've been with me all along. I've lost your money. I'm so sorry. I need you to be with me one more time. And we are all in this together. And it is so exciting that this is what's going to happen. I actually started promoting this properly to people and talking about it with enough security and safety in my own heart and love that I knew this was happening. I think it was around the end of 2019. And ever since then, slowly but surely, I have spoken to people. My team is small. I'm so proud of them. The leaders that I have in them are amazing. And I'm just so grateful. And last year, just after my sister's birthday in October, I told her and my mum that I had positions for both of them. And my sister just embraced this as well, jumped in, supported me. I was so fortunate. I was so scared to tell them, but I have been so fortunate with their support and love all the way through to today. My sister's bought additional positions. My mum's got positions. We are all ready. And my team is flourishing. And I'm so proud of them and so grateful to Unpassive and to be here.
Wow, that's awesome, Robin. We could sit here and talk to you all day. Unfortunately, we are just about out of time, but I do have to get a couple more questions in that I want to ask you. When we first come in, we look at On Passive and we think of it's going to be a stream of income for us and how it's going to work, and then all of a sudden, our mind and our heart picks up on what Ash has been telling us, and it's about, hey, when you get enough apples in your bucket to do whatever you need done, then what are you going to do with the extra apples? So I have actually 3 questions left, and I don't have a lot of time, but tell me, I want to know your dream. What are you going to do with your apples? What is your dream? And that's the first one.
I'll keep it short. I realize I'm on a time and I'm sorry. I talk and talk and talk.
Oh, we love it. We love it. Oh, man. It's been good.
Milo, in true fashion of what Unpassive is all about, I am going to reinvest in myself, in the products that I know that work, and in 1 or 2 devices that I absolutely need that will make a difference in my life so that I can be better and stronger, and therefore then be able to help my own family more, and bring in what is necessary then for my mum and my sister. And once we are then, and repay my sister as well with all that she has given me and helped me with. Our mum has also got advanced dementia now, and the toll that it's taking on both of us, me because of the disabilities, my sister because of the full-time work, is anybody who has experienced this is probably nodding their head and saying, yes, it is a huge toll. We just want her to be comfortable and safe, and we're so fortunate that she's with us, but we are losing her daily, and that is hard. So that's the first goal. The second goal is that I will then be stepping out into community and helping with more charities, more events, more Unpassive Bless opportunities to help. And the top of the line will be mental health, invisible and visible disabilities, dementia, Alzheimer's, and our animals, and better care for our seniors. Those are my special charities and foundations that I will be working with.
Awesome. I love your heart. I love your passion. Now, one more thing that I got to ask you about is you are into Reiki. You're a Reiki master. Just take a few minutes and tell us a little about that.
Oh, health and wellness and travel has always been part of my life. And after I was back in the last century, I had a health food store, and I became very involved and very passionate about helping people in health and wellness, and improving their situations. So I took a lot of courses. I did a lot of learning. I learned from some amazing masters, in Canada as well as globally. What I do now is probably more considered in the old-fashioned term of laying on of hands. I don't see it as such. I've never given myself much credit with this, but I do work with the human energy field in somebody who allows it. I ask permission of their body and of them first. But I do help, and I do have hands that know where to go to help release blockages. And I use my masters, I use the divine love and guidance that I receive from God and Mother Mary, and I work to help balance people, animals. Usually it's the other way around. It's usually our animals first, and then it's the humans and our planet. And I've held on passive and all our founding members in God's big bubble of pink love in his heart. And I've worked daily with all of this as well to ensure the healing, the integrity, the truth for our good and the highest good of all as we move forward to global launching.
Wow. Thank you, Robin. Thank you so much for being here, sharing your story, give us the wisdom on what you are doing. I'm just so glad that you're here. And I know that you are excited about what's coming of On Passive. There are few others right now watching you right now are still not sure whether or not they want to become a non-passive founder. What is your word of wisdom to them?
You will learn as you become involved with this. Your heart will open. Your whole life and aspect of what you think is real now will shift and change. The amount of $97 plus $5 at this point in time is your best investment for yourself, for your family, and for your future. I suggest to my team and to the people who have joined with me to have a position for themselves, a position for their family, and a position for their charities, even if they cannot afford anything else, because that way they can share and be part of it. I don't like talking about the refund, but it's there as an umbrella in case down the line somebody is not happy with this. And I truly cannot believe that would ever be the case. But I absolutely want you to consider where you could be in a year's time by taking a leap of faith. And I know that can be so hard. And maybe it's not faith, maybe it's just a leap in belief, maybe it's just taking a step. The person who has told you about On Passive has told you for a reason, and mostly because they would like to help you, your family, or whatever they know about you. There is some aspect they want to help you with. Trust them. And please join us, because what we are going to do for the world has never been done before. It's been spoken of in many, many of the different religious books and many of the different religious preachings. This could just very well be the start of that. And with our open hearts and with our goal and mission of helping everybody else, after we have looked after ourselves, what a beautiful way to help and change the world and make things happen in a wonderful way.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Robin, for being here with us. There you have it, everyone. It's Robin Noble. She has the voice. She has the knowledge. She has gone through so much. And I'm thankful that you're here today with us. I'm thankful that you're watching the Julie and Milo show. Please go to julieandmilo.com. There are many stories that you want to listen to. There are also a playlist that you actually can help take that and share the message of On Passive. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Robin, for being here with us. And as always, please stay safe, stay well, and most of all, stay alive. Good night from Newport Coast, California.
Good night, everybody. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Good night from Nashville.
Listen to their stories and how they tell.